I know. We haven't updated anything. I get it. Let me tell you something. We've been busy. We've been doing so much stuff around here. Well, not even around here. We've been doing so much stuff, but like working, making money, trying to survive out here. The winter has been crazy, but we made it. We're still kind of, walking, tiptoeing through it because we get sun and then it's another day of rain or another day of snow. But I'm like, okay, I think after what, maybe it was been like a year since I posted something that we've showed you something that we've done up here in the Bayos Homestead. So for today, we're choosing today because it's been raining, it's been snowing, and tomorrow we might get more snow and I won't have time to turn over this pile. So I'm gonna show you guys a method of creating your own soil for your own garden. So let me show you a little garden that this is the soil that you see here is clay, hard clay. You can do pottery out of this if you refine it, but I'm trying to amend the soil here by adding some pine needles, some old leaves, so that it mulches and it breaks down and creates some type of soil. But in order to help that out, I'm creating my own type of soil, which is this bin here. Now, this bin has a mixture of pine needles, a mixture of hay, a mixture of grass clippings, a lot of goat, chicken, and horse manure. Now, it's layered into a lasagna, what people call lasagna method, because you layer uh, your manure, then it's gonna be your dry, then your green, and then another layer of that. You can also add your compost, which is any food material that you waste that you don't eat, like old apples, banana peels, oranges, your old veggies that you just cut up. So this one here has been sitting for a week. Now this method is called technically the lazy farmer method, which means you're only going to be turning it weekly, once a week, and it should be ready by the end of the third week. If not, give it another week. So it's been sitting here for a week already, and today I'm going to turn it. So now you might see some steam come out, and that's because it's working out. So on top it looks like this, but let's see how it looks after a week of it breaking down. So you start seeing how some particles are already turning into soil, and you're only going to get that the more you dig. So for today, what we're going to do is just take this pile, turn it over, but first I got to take this one out because this is a new pile that I'm starting. So we're just going to till it over, and once that's done, we're just going to wait another week for it to just do its thing, and then we'll turn it. But okay, let's get to it. In this pile, since there's no there's no manure, there's really no hot temperatures going on in there. But as you can see, the very top layer is still loose, but when you come in and see the bottom layer, you start seeing that this is already breaking up, and that's what we want. But obviously, since this is a new pile, you're not going to see that much action in it. I'm waiting to see what the other pile looks like. All right, so I think that's enough for this pile, so I can just start turning this over to this. So, oh yeah, one thing we need to get is water. So but I think since it's been raining, it should be wet enough. But after every pile. So if you do manure, dry, green, or you can do green, manure, dry, doesn't matter. But as long as you have your 3-layer, 4-layer, then you wet that pile. And then you add your other 4 layers and then you wet that pile. The point is to have it moist, and then it's going to create heat, and the heat breaks it down faster. So now from here to that side. Turning it for the oxygen? Yeah, the purpose of turning it is for the oxygen. So that's why I also have it out here in the pallets. So the method of turning all this into soil is the air, the heat, and the moisture. So obviously in the middle, there's no way you're gonna get heat in there, or I mean oxygen. So that's why, once a week, depending on how hot your pile is, you want to have air coming in. It helps you break it down faster as well. So here what I am seeing a lot is a lot of white, which I believe is mold. So now by fixing this, we might have to air it more. That means there's too much moisture in there. And now I had the tarp over it so that it helps the heat stay in there, the moisture stay in there. So now what I'm seeing is a lot of the little white mold. So in order to fix that, it's just not covering it and letting more air come in. And we'll see how it does next week. But I'm going to take you down the journey of turning grass clippings, hay, manure. You can see some of the goat manure in their little balls. See how this is already turning into soil? So I'm going to take you down the process of doing it. This is the beginning or the end of week 1. The ending of week 1, beginning of week 2. And I'll take you down all the weeks until this actually turns into soil. And this isn't the only method you can use to make your soil at home. There's bin methods. You can use a metal barrel, plastic barrel, but that's gonna make you actually turn it every day. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna fill it up, cover it. The next day you're gonna dump it, turn it back out. We did that when we had the chicken run in this exact location, and the same method took about maybe 2 weeks for it to turn into workable soil. And that's because the metal was conducting the heat better, and turning it every day, man, it got oxygen every day. uh, so it obviously worked a lot faster. You could make soil faster. Ooh, big old clumps of soil. We could make soil faster by making the same pile, covering it, and turning it every day. Nobody's got time for that. Imagine doing a 10, 12-hour shift, coming home after a hour and a half drive, and then having to turn this daily. And technically when I come home, it's already dark sometimes. So then doing this in the dark, out here, out here, once the sun goes down, you're talking about you're going back to the 20s, 30s still. So it's like you want to be out here turning your compost in the cold, risking you getting sick. You getting sick out here is not worth it, man. Yeah, my wife takes good care of me. Where if she even sees me down a little bit, she's like, oh, I'm making you a tea. She hears me coughing or sneezing, oh, I'm making you a tea. And it works every time. Because being sick out here, back in the city, you're sick, and you say, oh, you know what? I'm calling out. I'll sleep in. I'll chug some pharmaceuticals. And that's cool for you. But out here, you get sick, you still gotta water your plants or feed your animals, give your animals water. Hey, you ran out of water, you gotta get up and haul it. And that's all being sick, that's all being under the weather. So we kind of try to do a very good job at keeping our health up out here, because one day of being down is worth about a week of being down in the city out here. So stay healthy. Get off those pharmaceuticals too. Those only keep you going back for more and more. And that only tells you it's not working. If you keep going back for it, so right here, what I'm seeing is it's not moldy anymore. But what else is it not? Wet. There's no moisture. None at all. So once I layer it over here, I'm going to do maybe 4 more. And then I'm going to add some water. Just to keep it moist. Because if it's just dry, there's really no productivity going up in there. And I'm just wasting my time and my energy shoveling poop for no reason. Alright, let's see. But as you can see, compared to here, so you have whole leaves, pine needles, hay, poop, manure. There's horse manure here. This is here. The goat, your goat manure. But then when you pan down to this pile, you can still see the horse poop, but you see it breaking down already. And you see mostly dirt already coming out. That's exactly what you want to see. So now let's go get some water. Out here, you get all 4 seasons. But in between those seasons, you get surprised. What do I mean by that? One day, like I said, it's sunny. What is she alerting to? Oh. One day, you'll see super sunny. Then it's super cloudy. Of course, chemtrails. Then it's raining. Then it's snowing. Obviously, that's during the winter, but it's always a surprise out here. It's always up and down. And the one thing that you're never shy of is the wind. The wind is more present than the rain, actually. And out here, the actual saying, is that the Mormons came here and found this place and decided to take off once the wind stopped. The wind never stopped and they stayed here. But One thing about living out here, and that's what I was looking for, was my drill. Unfortunately, my drill is in the SUV. And because we live off grid and our only off-road vehicle is in the mechanics due to a blown engine or seized engine, actually, I have to park my car. You can't even see it from here, but it's about a mile and a half. And on a rainy day, on a snowy day, I have to hike it from there to here. So unfortunately, I have my tools there because I work. So I have to leave my car there, and to not haul all that weight, I leave my tools. So now I gotta kind of do this manually. The only thing is you don't want a certain spot to be super wet, because then that kind of drowns out the organisms that help you break it down. And you definitely don't want that, because that slows down the process as well. You can go from 3 to 4 weeks of soil to 3 months, 4 months, depending on how much you have to do to it every time. Ooh, we have a lot of soil here. Look at this. Technically, some of this can be used, but you obviously want it to break down more so that it turns into that black, rich soil, and anything can grow on there. Now, in the year or year and a half that we haven't posted a video, we've actually been trying to start a garden. We tried about 3 times already. Look at this. This is the black stuff that I'm talking about, and this is already breaking down nicely. But we tried 3 times, three different times, 3 different seasons in growing. We tried outdoors, we tried indoors, and none of it worked. We would get the seedlings to come out, and once we would transplant outside, the sun would kill them. And then we did sun protection. Then the wind would kill them. We did wind protection. And then the cold. And the animals? Yeah. And then once we got the cold figured out, we had an actual squash plant growing. Had about 3 inches, 4 inches high. And everything was looking good. And then the cat said, "Who? A new home." And that was that. So now we're definitely trying to, we know we can grow out here. It's just now doing a system where we can protect the plants from the animals and the season. So the garden I showed you earlier, that's gonna be fenced up, but at the same time, it has a log foundation. Let's take a look at it. So all around it has a log foundation, so that if ever a time, once it's even, there's a lot of water up here, the water's gonna seep through. And at the same time, it can act as a natural mulching. It holds, if you look at the logs here, it holds moisture. It holds the moisture good. So it acts like a little retaining wall that can hold your water and help your garden. But eventually it's covering, fencing it up, putting a door up, and just having windbreaker all around, just making sure it's protected from the original issues we already had, plus the animals now. It's all a work in progress. But I'll tell you what, once we get this thing going, that means we can start doing it in a large scale. And by large scale, I'm talking about half an acre of just corn, half an acre of just tomatoes, potatoes, you name it. But it's figuring out this first. Figuring out what works in your zone, figuring out what works where you're at. I know back in the state where we are from, it was easy to grow stuff, but just because the weather was perfect, water, I mean, live in a rich soil place, and here it's all clay, so you got to pretty much start from ground up, amend your soil, make it into the soil that you want it to work. Now, why do we amend it? I know that's going to be a question that some of you guys are going to ask. So you look here, this is, some people would say, just why can't you just plant it here? This is why. Can you imagine any root digging in there? There's no way. And then you can form it into whatever you want, and it turns, you leave it out in the sun, this turns into a hard rock. And there's no way once this is dry. Right now it's wet because we had a bunch of snow and rain, but once it dries, it's rock hard. There's no way for anything to grow in there. So you must amend your soil, break down that clay soil so that you get that soft, airy, and moist soil, so that it makes it easy for the roots to go ahead and grow and survive. And that's another thing. By adding your compost, which is, or in this case, manure, horse manure, goat manure, and chicken manure, this is adding back minerals to the soil. The clay soil that we have here, pretty much the only minerals you can say they would get would be from the cows. So that's not a lot, and it's not everywhere. So by adding all this manure, you're returning back minerals to the soil. Now, where does this manure get the soil or the minerals from? The stuff we feed it. So depending on what you feed your animals, that's the same in return of what they're going to give you back. It's the circle of life. You get animals, you feed them, chickens give you eggs back, goats give you milk and meat, pigs give you meat, you feed them, they give it back to you, and then they also give it back to you in many ways. You get meat, you get dairy, but you also get the manure. And that's what helps us, start our garden or our farm if we decided to go on a larger scale, which once this goes off, look at all this blackness. Once this goes off, we plan to do it in a bigger aspect. And there's a lot of farmers out there that, because they do it in such a large scale, they use tractors and all that, and you should see some of the piles that they have. It takes them about 30 minutes, but on a tractor. And it's definitely a lot of turning, a lot of steaming. Once we get there, we'll get there. Right now is working out the kinks and worrying about the first steps to actually get there. Now, my plan is keeping this pile going. So once I transfer this pile over, we're going to refill this box. Well, we're going to refill it to whatever materials we have. Since I'm a handyman and I do all types of things, sometimes my customers require for landscaping jobs. And that's where I get a lot of my pine needles, a lot of my leaves. So I recently had a job and literally talking bags full of them. And it's already stuff that it's dry. People have questions or concerns saying, oh, don't add pine needles to your garden because they're very acidic. It's true. I'm not lying. But when they're green, once they're dry, they're the perfect. Obviously, they're going to take a while for them to break, so you got to help them. The smaller pieces you break down, the faster it breaks down. But it's the perfect dry brown material that you can use, especially leaves. So that's another plus of going now and raking people's gardens and yards, is the endless amounts of pine needles and leaves I can bring back home and just keep on creating more soil and using this method. Now, if you didn't want to use pine needles for soil, you can always use it for bedding. Take one bag, put it down there, and then the chickens are going to do their thing. They're going to spread it, create their own nest. You put it with the goats, they're going to make their own little hole and, lay in it. It does help keep the moisture in, but it also keeps heat in. So I can see why the animals enjoy bedding in it. So if you don't have a garden or you don't want to start a garden for whatever reason, you're going to want to. The way things are going, the way this world is going, or this country, we're going to need a lot more people starting to farm and start bringing produce down to the masses, because the food in the stores, even fruit now, it's just people are playing God and thinking that they can create it out of a lab when we can just do this. Spend money instead of labs, spend money on farm products. Create your own farm. Create your own food. Produce your own meat. And yes, it does take work. Yes, it does take energy. But when you get to taste that deliciousness of what you created with your own hands, what your kids helped build. Oh, let me tell you, my kids helped this. They actually started this pile. And I'll post that video up on the reels, or I'll probably just post it as it is. But I posted it on TikTok, and they actually started this pile last week. And that's one thing you can always teach your kids. We obviously go to the store because we don't have a up and running operating farm yet. So we still get our produce from, the market. And the kids see that. So they know, oh, now, we need food, go to the store. Whenever they want a fruit, they let me know. Hey, Dad, tomorrow you're going to work? Yes. Bring some oranges. Okay. So they know that food comes from there. I already have an idea of where we can get food, but that's not the idea. The idea is to show them where it comes from, because one day, and it's not even one day, it's already happening around the states. It already happened during the sickness years, where stores were short of meat, short of water, short of toilet paper. They're short of everything. So we got to teach them that not to be afraid of, oh, we're not gonna have food. Hey, you know how to plant it. You know how to raise your own food. Why worry about it? All it takes is getting dirty. And what? If you're scared of that, just go take a shower afterwards. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? But then again, if you're scared of dirt, you're probably allergic to peanut butter or something. But come on, guys. It's not hard
It's easy, you know, you're teaching your kids, and at the same time I'm teaching myself. I grew up not in the city. I I was born not in the city, but I grew up in the city. And it's taking a minute to get readjusted to a farm life because I got used to being in the city. Switching up a light switch or turning on a faucet, turning on the stove, just easy clicks, you know. And now it's actually learning how to do all that stuff just in case it all fails. But if it doesn't, we're up to modern society. We have light, we have heat, we have everything that you guys have. Except for space and freedom. But yeah, guys, pretty much this is almost it, to be honest. Next, next, I'm gonna show you guys how to start the pile. So that if you guys want to do it at home, you can. Now, I did tell you there was several methods, right? Starting your compost pile. So before I finish here, let me show you a different way. All right, so I told you there was many other methods that you can do. You can do it on the ground. You can do it on a pallet bin. You can do it straight from your garden. But you can get one of these. It's a dark black plastic box, and it's the same method. You're gonna be adding your dry manure, your green. You can add food waste in here, and as you can see, this one's already more advanced, where it's already broken down way more than the other one. And this one's only been in here for maybe 3 days, 4 days. It breaks down a lot faster. Obviously, with this one, you got to come in and add more water because since it's black, it does have holes for the water to drain out, but the heat hits it faster. It heats up faster. So what you want to do, it's a lot easier for you to have, for anybody that has a small garden, is this here. And all you do is you fill it, and every day you just give it a turn so that everything mixes and breaks down faster. This is the same method as you just turning it manually. So over here, we actually have a raised bed that we started, and this is the raised bed where I told you that we had that squash growing, but then the cats got into it and did their thing. But we're getting it ready for the season, and one way we're doing that is we actually put some chickens in here, two chickens in here, to start just tailing and just dropping some of their poop in there. And once we're ready to plant something, we'll just give it a quick little mix. But in here right now, we actually have one of our chickens who isn't feeling so well. So we isolated her because if we don't, the other chickens attack her, and well, then you lose the chicken. So we're hoping for her to recover. Once she's recovered, we're sending her back, and then going back to tilling this. But once this soil here is ready, um, which I'm thinking maybe another 4 or 5 days or so, um, it's all being dumped in here just to amend the soil, give it more minerals, and just have it ready for when it's actually more sunny, less cold. But that's another way. All right, so I'm down to the bottom, and this is where you start seeing it actually breaking down. Look at this. And this is a lot more finer than what's in the tumbler. And yeah, it's obviously you still see some of the clippings loose, but it's super loose compared to the stuff that I've been throwing onto this side. Now this is the top of it, and look what we got here is all loose. And this is just a week that it's been under. So, like I said, guys, I'm gonna be taking you down until this thing is completed. Once it's fully completed, even if it takes more than 3-4 weeks, you know, I gotta show you guys the end process. I hate videos that don't show you the end, just keep you hanging. So I'm gonna ask you to keep on hanging so you guys can see the end of this video. Because man, this is a lot of work, but we enjoy doing it. Because we know that at the end, it's gonna be very beneficial. Remember guys, when you move out to a place that has bad soil like we do, which is not even bad, it's just it has no minerals, there's no loose. The first 2-3 years is gonna be hard. It's gonna take a minute for you to actually start growing something. But once you fix it and you keep at it, that's all you gotta do. It's gonna the earth is gonna do itself as long as you keep on helping it maintain itself. You know what I mean? Like I said, one of the things that you gotta do, what she's doing right now, she's giving us some minerals. So it's just simply coming in and scooping all this richness up. Now I know what you're gonna think, Jose. How come you're not using a rake? How come you're not using a poop scooper? Because I already told you. It's all in the SUV, which is parked way over there. And I'm not trying to go over there right now. It's definitely a hike, especially hiking through the mud, slipping, sliding. It's definitely tough, and you don't want to be doing that every day. It's definitely tiring. But it's just as simple as that. Just brushing or scooping some of this poop out and start layering it. Now, I'm just doing this for you guys so you guys get an idea of this lasagna method. I went over to the horse stalls just to make sure that make sure if there was any manure there. But because it's been snowy, rainy, it's all a muck right now. So I would be technically scooping out manure and clay. And I don't want to introduce clay to my compost pile because I want it to, you know, break down faster. I already have to wait 3-4 weeks. I don't want to wait longer. So now that you're done scooping up some of your poop, let's go on back here again. I'm going to teach you guys the lasagna method. Now, because I already had this sitting down, it kind of already started breaking down. So we'll use this, and it already has horse manure in there too. So we'll use this as the manure part version of it as well. So what you want is, you want your dry you get an even layer of dry, even layer of green with manure. You take your green, which would be your poop material, just give it a nice healthy little layer, and then you go back to it. So this time I'm gonna do it. Add the white one, that one. Let's wet this. Okay, and guess what we're gonna do now? All over again. So grab one. This one here has a lot of leaf. We're good. Please take down the faster. Okay, so you have your dry, then you have your green. I'll just put the rest of this here, and so on, so on, so on. So you get your actual pile. Now, going back to this pile. So this pile here, as we saw at the beginning of the video, we saw that it was white. It had that mold going because there was too much moisture that was covered. Well, that was due because we actually had good few days of sun before the rain and snow got here. But because tomorrow we're due for more rain or snow, depending on the mountain climate, I'm gonna cover it because it's gonna rain. I don't want it to get too much water in there. Too much water slows down the process and then it can even kill the process. So I'm gonna go ahead and water this. Like I said, so it's all a learning process. So if I already found out that by keeping it covered on consecutive days that there's sun is going to create that mold, that only means I'll probably, this time around, I'll probably just do 1 day covered, 1 day not covered, 1 day covered, and that's only if we have consecutive days of sun. If we have consecutive days of rain, it's going to stay covered so that it keeps that heat, that moisture. That's what we want. Now, during the week, when I come out here and I see that it's back up and steaming, I'm gonna make sure I put some of that footage because when we saw it steaming, that's exactly what you want. It's the process of it breaking down and just turning into soil, and it's a very exciting moment. You get your pile, lasagna, green, manure, dry, water. Keep it going, and you can keep it going as big as you want. We just want to keep it this small so that it's manageable. Boom, 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 boom. We can just do it quick, just straight into the garden. So again, I'm gonna keep you guys posted every week. If anything happens during the week, make sure to record it, update you guys, and just you guys can follow the journey of just turning all this compost pile into soil and let us know what you guys think. You guys have any comments, got any ideas, tips that I can add to my compost pile, then please, by all means, we are new at this and we're willing to take any criticism as long as it's what is it, constructive criticism. But yeah, remember, follow, like, and subscribe if you like what you see. If you want to get notified for more new videos, especially the ones that are coming up with the updates of this soil, just go ahead and click that follow button. Thank you. See you next time.